Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. It's always a delight and an honor we have time to spend with Brad Dacus. Brad is the president of the Pacific Justice Institute. Brad and his organization literally are doing work in all 50 states and around the country. They are your advocates for really justice in all levels. And he does have a website, pacificjustice.org. Let me encourage you, especially those of us in the Pacific Northwest. Brad and his team are serving people and issues here. Most of it's pro bono. And let me say to you, when you support them, you're supporting pure justice, the right justice, constitutional justice throughout the area. And you go to pacificjustice.org. Brad, good to see you, friend. How are you, buddy?
Oh, it's great to be on the program. Doing just great.
Good. Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, it is a new year and a new horizon, I think, for the United States and our country, our freedom. So it's an exciting year. 2025 is going to be an exciting year, I believe.
You know, Brad, a lot of the cases that you've been championing across the country, and specifically here in the Pacific Northwest, deal with a lot of the executive orders now that the president is signing. I mean, they're just coming off his desk like crazy. And a lot of it have to do with the gender issue as it relates not only to nonprofit organizations, but overall. How do you see that executive order from yesterday taking the federal government out of this issue impacting any of your cases?
Yeah, it's going to be real significant for what we're rolling out here as far as an executive order in terms of defining as two genders, a man and a woman, saying males cannot go into girls' sports or girls' locker rooms. But people need to understand that the executive order has limitations. So right up front, I want to make that really clear. Number one, it applies to the federal government and actions of the federal government, things the federal government sponsors or financially supports. So there's limitations. It doesn't require states to change their policies necessarily. Number one. Number two, it's not law. It's just an executive order. So it's only going to be binding as long as he's still in the White House. And after that, if his replacement is someone else who believes differently, that can all be unwound instantly. So those are, those are some of the limitations. However, it does give us a strong tailwind moving forward in terms of both what we're doing at a state level legislatively as well as our cases. Legislatively, we've already worked to get 6 states to pass laws that say boys can't compete in girls' sports. Boys can't go into girls' locker rooms. That's been fantastic. There have been 5 other states now that have copied that. That's clearly the momentum is moving in the right direction. And then as far as our litigation goes, we're still going to be litigating. For example, we still have the issue up in Washington State dealing with a Christian-owned Korean women's spa. We're still taking that up on appeal. The state of Washington has put their fist down against this Christian-owned business because they would not allow a biological man to go into the women's spa and be naked in front of naked women and naked teenage girls and their daughters. I mean, I'm just being very explicit because people need to understand how sick and perverted the Washington Human Rights Commission and the people governing the state of Washington actually are. They're behind this. Their party's behind this. So we at Pacific Justice, we're still going to have to litigate this. The good news is we've got a great Supreme Court. It's going to get even better, and we're going to take these cases all the way up as we need to.
All right, I want to come back to executive orders just for a moment. I understand that the executive orders are only just that, an executive order. They only have the life of the president. But as they move into policy, does the issue of precedence come into play?
Yeah, we can utilize it, and we will utilize it in our cases, in our arguments, even at the state level with regards to state law and state mandates. We'll be bringing that in. It helps to show, if anything, the court, look, on a federal level, there's a perspective that's different than that of this radical leftist extremist state policy. So we're going to definitely be using that moving forward. And it is going to be helpful. It helps give more reasonableness to our arguments to be able to validate. Also, it does something else too. It allows for us to have an enemy become a friend. So the Department of Justice, the FBI, I mean, you name the agency, They have been overtly hostile, the CIA, hostile to organizations like ours and what we stand for: parents' rights, religious freedom, sanctity of life. All that is changing overnight. The Department of Justice will be our ally in our cases and our litigation. So that's going to be really strong. When you have the Department of Justice coming in and writing an amicus brief or intervening as a co-plaintiff, if you will, or co-defendant, depending on the case, that's very strong, very helpful, and it's very, very encouraging. So it enables us also to be much more aggressive in our litigation, in our approach, knowing that we've got these agencies now who were once against us now on our side.
When the president pardoned some pro-life people the other day, got a lot of pushback, but also apparently, from what I understand, these cases were well vetted. These people were obviously innocent and got a bad trial, and they've been set free. That's got to be pretty significant as it relates to future problems with pregnancy centers. Oh, without a doubt. And Biden used the Department of Justice as basically a witch hunt tribunal. And they used the FACE Act, which was there to protect churches and women's clinics from violence, from destruction, from people, keeping people from coming and going. Well, what he did, though, is through his agency, he didn't use it to protect the churches or the synagogues. Let them have bullets fly through the window. That was sort of his perspective. No, he wanted to use it specifically to target Christian pro-life counselors, on-site counselors, or peaceful demonstrators who didn't blow up things and have fire and damage and all the other stuff we had in the summer of 2020. No, peaceful, loving, pro-life demonstrators. So instead of people getting their hands slapped for technically trespassing, as we had in our Michigan case for a pastor who was being criminally prosecuted, no, they came in and they brought the FACE Act, the Department of Justice, so he'd face up to 11 years behind bars. They already had convicted an 89-year-old woman who loves the Lord to several years behind bars for peacefully trespassing. So they were going after him. The good news, this is one of the people, the person we're representing, along with about 20 others, who were completely pardoned. So the Department of Justice has completely changed its position. Instead of a witch hunt to put all these people behind bars for years and years away from their loved ones and families and churches, they've taken a different approach, saying, no, these aren't bad people. Pardons for all of them. It's a new day. It's a new dawn, and we at PJI are all the better for it. The people we're helping are all the better for it. That's wonderful. All right, let me come back to recent action inside the DOJ under the leadership of a current temporary Attorney General, releasing more than a dozen people at the higher levels, especially as it related to the Jack Smith special prosecution case. But there seems to be a house cleaning. Where do you think this is going, Brad?
It's going in the right direction, I'll tell you that. I'm really glad that they did release those that worked with Jack Smith, because either A, these were attorneys that believed in what Jack Smith was doing, which is not respecting the Constitution and using lawfare against the trust of we the people. So yeah, they should all be eliminated if that was their reason. If their reason instead was just, you know what, we're just doing our job and we really don't care about what we're doing and the principles behind what we're doing, yeah, they should be released for that as well. There's no valid reason why they should remain at their position. They need to be removed. What they did was wrong. They should have stood up to it. They should have objected to it. These are people who didn't stand up to it and object to it. No, they used their energy and resources to breach the trust of the American people, as did Jack Smith, who was found out and determined to be completely invalid and unconstitutional as a special prosecutor. So this is just the beginning, as it should be. We need to clean house. The Department of Justice and the FBI and the CIA, it needs to be made up of people who believe in the Constitution, who are not in deep state out to thwart individuals or groups or people of faith or anyone else. It needs to do their job equally and fairly and respecting the constitutional rights of all Americans, of we the people.
What do you think of Pam Bundy?
Fantastic. She is absolutely fantastic. My only problem is, she's almost 60 years old. she doesn't look it. She looks. My first thinking was, she is a little young, and then I find out that she's actually 59 years old. So, that was the only thing I could say about her in any kind of questionable ways. How can someone look so young and pretty, and actually be at her age? And but seriously though, she's actually very, very, very sharp. She held her well with the confirmation committee hearing, and she's going to be an absolutely fantastic person to fill that position.
What's behind President Trump releasing the JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King Jr. records?
Transparency. The American people are fed up with the lack of transparency. We've all been exposed to it. I know I personally have been impacted dramatically in the last 5-6 years, where in the past I had much more trust in government, being neutral, fair, honest, open. The American people, their trust in government, the integrity of government has gone way down, dangerously low for a country like ours. So we need to have greater transparency. And whether we're talking about what happened with CDC, providing false information, silencing those who had quote unquote providing misinformation. We all have seen it over and over again in the last few years, particularly the Biden administration. So, no, we need transparency, and I think that's what this is all about, saying if there's not a legitimate reason to hold something back, let the American people know. And then with the drones, we found right out recently, the administration, Biden administration said, oh, yeah, they're not out there. This is just all made up stuff. No, it's not out there. This is, and it turns out we found out, no, one of the main reasons these drones were existing, and especially initially, was because the government was doing different kinds of research. And just be honest with the American people. Don't lie to us. That's what the American people are demanding, and I think that's why this is being released.
One quick question before I take a break. Do you think that Dr. Fauci will ever be held accountable?
I don't know. If he will be, it'll be in the next 4 years by the Trump administration. I think that he's got a lot of people backing him, deep within his agency, the CDC, I'm sure. So getting the information that could have been destroyed, shredded up, that's going to be a part of the problem. We understand, based on what I've heard, that such tactics have been taken in multiple agencies across the federal government, dissolving information, tearing up DEI information, trying to break it, to take it off computers. So if they can find the information, yes. Now they've gotten this blanket pardon from Biden. Biden has issued it against people in his family. All of these people who supposedly are innocent are getting pardons, and they're accepting the pardons. So they may not be put behind bars, but they need to be exposed, and they can still be technically prosecuted potentially at a state level under state law. The pardons do have some limitations. So we'll see what happens. We can see it at a state level, or we can see it at an investigatory level with subpoenas by Congress.
All right. So, Florida's going after him. They could get him at a state level. But if they bring him in at a federal level, he can't hide behind the fifth. And so they could finish the investigation to prove that they were lying and therefore discredit who they are as a person.
Correct. Absolutely.
All right. Let me take a quick break. PJI. Or you can go to Pacific Justice Institute or pacificjustice.org. All those will get you there. And take a look at what they are. Check out all the cases and the places that they're involved in. And most of all, support them. They are frontline warriors. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and always an honor to have with us Brad Dacus. Brad is president of the Pacific Justice Institute. Brad and his team are all over the country fighting in your behalf. And you can go to PJI or the Pacific Justice Institute or pacificjustice.org. You'll get to the website there. You can check out a lot of the things that they're involved in, a lot of them that are really concerning to you, your business, your being a parent, whatever, and support them, pacificjustice.org. Brad, for the sake of time, what's happening with this Montana bill? That's cowboy country. They don't allow too much going on up there. What's going on up there?
Yeah, it's real important. You think Montana, that's going to be a a very safe place, but for people and women in locker rooms, et cetera. But the reality is we're fighting for a bill. I think it's HB 121 to get it passed at a state level through our legislative division. And this is going to provide protection for females in locker rooms and the like, so that boys can't go in, can't compete in girls' sports, and deal with these kinds of issues. It's just real important that we work hard and to make sure this is dealt with in states that are not only blue but also red, but just not as red as they need to be to really meet the what I believe are the mandates of the Constitution and the expectations of we the people.
The recent rulings by the president, do you think they help in putting pressure here?
Oh yeah, they do. But partly, not so much as far as on the legal side, we can reference it, but politically, it's going to be very helpful. And so we understand that there's a definite momentum moving in the right direction. We want to take full advantage of that, not just in the courts with our more aggressive litigation strategies that I was talking about just yesterday with our chief counsel, 2 new cases. We wouldn't even have thought about taking up perhaps had the election turned out differently. So we're moving aggressively there, but also with regard to legislation, not only at a state level, but also we're moving at a federal level with some really powerful parents' rights legislation that we really need to have codified nationwide. Hopefully, we'd love to get an executive order to support some of what we're advocating to protect parents from having their children just blindly taken from a zealous social worker with no adequate due process. Things like that we're addressing at both the state level and a federal level, as well as issues like we're facing in Montana.
I want to come to our own backyard, the Christian health care case right here in Oregon. Give us an update on that one.
The Christian health care case, yeah, that's dealing with the, as I understand it, with the adoption and foster care issue. Yes, so we're litigating. This is a very important case. Oregon has zealously and with very much an extremist, intolerant policy, basically said that, hey, if you're a Christian couple, and and you're not willing to deny your faith when it comes to encouraging gender confusion in a little child, you can't be a foster parent, and you can't adopt through the state of Oregon either, for that matter. You're completely disqualified unless you're willing to, hypothetically, if you get a child who has some gender confusion, say in 6th, 7th grade, if you're not willing to affirm that and encourage it, then you're disqualified. Basically, it disqualifies every committed Christian and follower of the Lord Jesus Christ and the follower of Scriptures, as well as Orthodox Jewish people as well, for that matter. So this is atrocious, and we're taking this on, and this is a case that we're litigating, and we have Ray Hackey's doing a great job. He heads up our office there in Oregon, and we're in full litigation mode in this case.
And what about the case where healthcare workers, Christian healthcare workers, denied to take the vaccine and lost their job? How's that proceeding?
Yeah, it's an interesting case because, we've had lots of successes across the country dealing with people who had resisted the vaccine mandates and were threatening to lose their jobs. We just had a huge victory against San Francisco, $7.8 million judgment against the Bay Area Rapid Transit. The most difficult area has been dealing with medical related jobs and occupations. Well, I've got some good news. We had our case. We brought it up on appeal there in Oregon after having an adverse decision at the lower level, and the appellate court reversed it, dealing with this medical health care issues for vax objectors in terms of COVID-19. So based on religious beliefs and religious convictions. So it's being sent back down. We're hopeful that we're going to see some more breakthroughs now that it's very clearly determined that the vaccine does not prevent transmission. Which is a primary argument used by the medical profession, I think we're going to see a much better success rate moving forward. And this Oregon case has been it's taking a lot of energy, a lot of work, but we're very pleased with that successful appellate ruling.
As the vaccine continues to fall apart, in other words, it didn't do what it was supposed to do, it never really went through the normal process and timing proving it to be a normal vaccine. In other words, it didn't have the years of testing. And now the side effects of this seems to be dramatic in so many cases. Do you think that's going to open up door for lawsuits against the government for approving this without it actually going through the normal process?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there's a federal statute giving a great degree of immunity for pharmaceutical companies who develop vaccines that have ramifications. They redefined the term vaccine to try to, cover themselves if the government did. However, that said, these companies are not off the hook completely. So to the extent to which they knew information and did not disclose it, i.e., the extent to which they knew it did not prevent transmission, or the extent to which they knew that it caused miscarriages potentially, as was reported, the extent to which they knew information that they did not disclose, they can still be sued. I know states like Texas and other states have gone after them under this. So there's some possibilities there, but by and large, though, no one can reverse the atrocious results that have happened to so many people I know personally, people that you probably know, other people who took the vax and either died or have serious long-term illnesses. This never would have been approved had we known ahead of time what was to come. Historically, no vaccine with even a fraction of these kind of results have been approved in the past. This was atrocious, and we have people like Fauci and others trying to cover themselves and say, well, this is in the past, let's just move forward. No, we need to make sure this never, ever happens again. And when I say that, I think of people that I know that were impacted by it and deceived, and it really has been a huge breach of trust with government agencies, and that's one reason why I hope RFK does well regarding this confirmation hearing. We need someone that can bring transparency back to HHS.
I didn't know that he was so into what he's into until I heard his speech when he left his own campaign and endorsed President Trump. There was that 25, 35-minute speech he gave there about his passion with health care. And it's everything that we're concerned about. Did you know that he had a level of interest at that level?
Yeah, when he was running for president, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. But after he joined the Trump team, and then he really started laying out, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in. I am ecstatic. He's exactly the kind of person that I would like to be in that agency. Right now, the CDC, the FDA, is dominated by people who have strong financial interests with Big Pharma. That needs to come to an end. He sees that. Our country allows chemicals to be in our food that are banned and prohibited for decades in Europe. So we have the same product selling in Europe, but it's healthier in Europe. We have higher disease rates, even though we have healthcare costs and expenses more than double that of other developed parts of the world. So we need major reform. The stakes have proven to be very high for our country, and I think he's just the man to do it.
Brad, good to see you, friend. It's been too long. God bless you, friend. I don't know when you're sleeping, either working on a case or you're preaching somewhere.
Yeah, you're right. Doing a lot of preaching and a lot of litigating, and it's an exciting time. I love being on your program. Thank you so much, Perry. I really
well, we're
appreciate
honored to carry yours on the television network, so thank you so much. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, pacificjustice.org, go there. You see Brad's program here on the Dove TV network, and support him, pji.org. Thank you, buddy. God bless.
Thank you.